ever awesome Wendy Lee. How you doing today, Wendy?
Doing awesome. Good to be here. Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday to you as well. So the cool thing is we're like a week and a day from Christmas, which I can't believe how fast 2024 blew by. And here we are at Christmas. So you got all your stuff done?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I'm finishing today, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, had some people reach out to me. Oh yeah, crap, I forgot to do that. And then it's like, yeah, I should probably send out Christmas cards. So this is my
Yep.
first solo Christmas, so I'm trying to kind of get all of it under control and stuff like that. But it'll all work out.
It'll
But
be
we're
fun.
not talking about that today. What we're talking about is Christmas, the holiday season, things like that. We've got Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and some other stuff going on. But it's all tied to generosity and giving. And, we've all heard the term, it's better to give than to receive.
Hmm.
And, I've never really thought about why. I mean, it feels good, but there's some actual positive stuff coming back on you by doing that. And not just at Christmas,
Yeah.
obviously, but year round. I don't know if you've ever thought about that or.
Yeah. I mean, one Christmas, I took my oldest kid at the time, who, oh man, he's 22 now. I think he was 15, maybe 14. Took him to serve food
Yeah.
at a homeless shelter over Christmas. And I just remember going, oh
Oh,
man, we need to like
okay.
do this more, right? We need to give back and serve a little bit more in the Christmas holidays and just shift that mindset from, it's all about us to it's all about others.
Others, yeah. Well, and that's one of the things, and everybody, I think, for the most part, wants to be generous, and it's maybe like, oh, there's so much hustle and bustle with the holidays and things like that, and so much going on. You got travel, people coming to your house, or you're trying to get to multiple houses to, kind of with different family members and stuff like that. But really looking at, what does generosity or being generous, and it's not just at Christmas, like I said, this is something you can experience year round. But the first thing is it really shifts your mindset, right? I've got some notes here, Proverbs 11:24-25, getting a little biblical. One person gives freely yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly but becomes or comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed, right? And it's kind of that whole paying it forward concept in my mind.
Hmm.
It's the universe giving you back, tenfold or whatever the case may be, when you're generous, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it moves you to that abundance mindset, right? Like, we
Yes.
actually, you and I heard somebody speak yesterday and talk about,
Powerful.
she said God's economy, right? Like, we can't look at things from our, earthly view. We have to look at God's economy. And with Him, the more you give, the more you receive, right? And
Yeah.
so moving from that scarcity, oh, I can't give too much or I won't have enough, right? Instead
Yeah.
of hoarding and worrying, you actually act in faith and, you know, be reminded that like God has it all. God owns it all.
Well, and that's the key too, and that acting in faith. And I want to challenge people out there. If you've not been a generous person, and I'm not saying you're the Grinch, but if you've not been a generous person because of that scarcity mindset, that's a lot, especially with what's going on in the economy. You've got drones flying around. Who knows what that's going to turn out to be, right? I mean, there's a lot of weird things and scary things, and a lot of people, lost jobs, things like that. But have a little faith and just step out just a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Take those baby steps, step out just a little bit and have that faith and watch what happens, and do it
Yeah.
with a true heart and things like that. But, you know, like you said, that giving really loosens that grip of fear on your life. And those baby steps really start to add up to big things in your life. And
Hmm.
that's something that, the first big benefit of being generous is number one, is it helps change your mindset and really pulls you out of that worldview of scarcity
Hmm.
and that there's not enough to go around and things like that. And even when you go, in sales or networking groups or whatever the case may be, I mean, a lot of us have scarcity mindset about a lot of things, and being generous really helps crush that for you and your personal journey, right? And
Absolutely.
so looking at the second thing, and I love this because, the prospering the kingdom, it's all about teaching you and helping you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. generosity actually improves your health and overall happiness too, right? Putting a
Yeah.
smile on somebody's face or things like that. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, another scripture, Acts 20:35 says, Paul says it's more blessed to give than to receive. And
Yep.
I know for me, like sometimes I forget this, but in those times that I'm serving, that I'm giving, like
Mhm.
of my time or of my money, like it always makes me feel better. And
Mhm.
they actually, there's now been studies that show that generosity releases endorphins. And those release of endorphins can help lower blood pressure and reduce stress.
Mhm.
And so you can actually feel happier when you give. And, we're talking about money, we're talking about time, we're talking about, beyond just your standard giving. But I feel like
Right.
it's really about serving, right? Like serving others. That actually fulfills us as well. And I think, we're just created that way, right? We're created in the
Yeah.
image of God. And I
Yeah.
think that, He created us to feel that way and feel excited and happy and uh, just more fulfilled with love when we're the one doing the giving. So,
No, I agree 100%. And that's one of the things too. And it's okay to feel that way. I know, this is, kind of hindsight, it's silly, but I used to feel a little guilty about, being generous. And then it would feel so good for me. It's like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to, to feel that good about it. Maybe am I doing it for me instead of that person? But
yeah.
I want to be crystal clear. That's like you said, that's how we're wired, right? And, looking at, could you imagine what the world would be if the focus was on, how can I make somebody else's day brighter? And I'm not talking, write them a big fat check or what. I'm just talking about simple little things, paying them a compliment, putting a smile on a face or something like that. And really having that again, going back to that mindset of abundance. It's okay to be generous. You're helping that other person out, but it also boosts your own joy, right?
Mhm.
And it's like a little charge throughout the day. I mean, I don't know, just random acts of kindness, especially if you see somebody like super cranky or something like that, you give them a compliment or something, and that's being generous. It's not just about money or gifts; it's your love, right, and things like that. And
Yeah.
it really kind of, again, it puts a smile on your face and it changes your whole perspective. Um, on the overall day, and that over time, again, just it changes you. It changes you for the better, right? It makes you a happier person, which in turn makes you a healthier person, right? And I also think, by doing that, people start looking at you differently. And again, not that you may be a big grouch or anything like that, but people start looking at you as a generous person, as a happy person, as a person they want to be around, right? You're like joke, do you want to be the person that everybody's smiling when you walk in or they're smiling when you walk out, right? Of a room. But generosity, really helps build those relationships too. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the third thing. It builds your relationships. It's, whether you're helping a friend or supporting a
Mhm.
cause, giving your time, it creates, community with you being a key part of that in somebody's lives. And you'd be amazed at how many people, are watching you and how many impacts you're making, good
Mhm.
or bad, throughout the day, whether you're even aware of it or not.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the crazy thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Another conversation we had yesterday was about like showing up and giving value every day,
mhm.
like adding value to people's lives every day, and how much that, builds trust. And, I know I have a story years ago. I had a friend from high school that connected on social media and had never really talked after high school until we connected online. And I just, would love on her posts and then she'd see things I'd do, and we
Mhm.
just grew this relationship on social media. And because I was generous with my time online, and I know that sounds silly, but and sharing my heart and even sharing scripture and my walk with God, she had a tragedy hit her life that was pretty extreme.
Mhm.
And she sent me a message and she's like, "Can we talk on the phone? I need someone to pray for me and you're the first person I thought of." And to me, that was so powerful to go, like you, to your point, like the things we do, we don't even realize how much of
Yeah.
an impact it can make. But I wound up not just praying with her that night, but singing at her family member's funeral. And that was a way that I got to give back and serve her going through a tragedy. But it's because I showed up and I gave value, and I was generous with my time online, which I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs that watch us. And that might sound silly, but you know, to what Jon just said, you don't know that impact that you're going to make on somebody's life just by being a listening ear or sharing encouraging words.
Well, and that's the key. I mean, it may be a simple thing to you, and a lot of times being generous, it's pretty simple. It's, again, it's not just about sending the money or whatever, but, being, reaching, putting a smile on somebody else's face, letting them in front of you in line or whatever the case may be, right? You don't know what they're going through. And by you doing that, the God, the universe, whatever you want to say, is going to pay you back. And like I said, over time, that changes who you are and who you become. And it, again, just another topic, it brings a lot of, personal fulfillment. Like I said earlier, I feel great when I do a good deed or something like that. You can flash back to the Norman Rockwell, the scouts helping the older lady across the street, right, with the groceries. But I think it does a lot, not only for the person you're helping, but it's just a lot of satisfaction that you're making a difference, and every one of us can make a difference, right? Big or small. Okay. And I'm not talking about the wealthy people stroking the big checks to the charities and things like that. I'm just talking about you helping your neighbor, or maybe they're sick. You have a lot of people that bring meals and things like that. But, whether it's small or large, you realize that your life has a purpose when you start making a difference in somebody else's life, right?
Absolutely.
Matthew 6:21, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. When you invest your time, talents, and resources, generosity, your heart starts to align with what really matters. And that's the awesome thing is, you start becoming that change. We all talk about, I even talk about it with our day job, the company, the financial planning side of it is, I want to make an impact, not just an income.
Right.
But you start taking that further and further with even the little small things, and it starts to really make you feel like you're making an impact. It gives you a lot of value, even though you may not see it on a daily basis, even though you may not, I remember, back in my previous life, I was all focused on, the corporate goal and stuff like that. And I wasn't a strong Christian at all. I was technically a Christian, right? And we're all at different points in our journey and things like that. But as you start making and taking these baby steps, it really starts to fulfill you and bringing you closer in alignment with, I think who I want to be. And that's, closer to God, closer to Christ and things like that. But it's really amazing that it gives you a lot of personal fulfillment. Again, that's okay. It's not a bad thing to feel good about helping others. And not that you want to point to myself, oh, look what I did, look what I did.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but just that personal journey on, making a difference in other lives. Right. Yeah. And that really is what community is all about. And your community is, your church, your neighborhood, your state, your city. And, people aren't always going to agree or disagree on things, but, again, that's okay. That's not your role. Your role, being generous with one another. I kind of went off on a tangent there, Wendy. Sorry.
That's all right. No, and the truth is that true fulfillment doesn't always come from what we get. We think, to be fulfilled, I want to have this, I want to have that, I want to have that, but it really, I think when we're in a servant, we have a servant heart. It comes down to fulfillment comes from what we give, and when we're in abundance, I mean, think about that too. We're like, so many people, I think maybe even have a heart to give. And let's talk financially for a minute, have a heart to give, but they don't have enough to give. Right. And I hear all the time people say, oh, I wish I was able to just write a check for that, or I wish I could just give to that. Right. So I want to challenge, everyone watching, like if you are blessed with gifts and talents and the ability to generate income, as an entrepreneur, like take advantage of that so that you can be a blessing financially for others. Right. Because that's, I think, where the true fulfillment comes is not when we have all the stuff, but when we're able to have enough that giving happens freely and with abundance. So
yeah. And it's one of those things too, and check yourself occasionally, right? If you're having a bad day yourself or something like that, you know, it's okay to get a little greedy, be nice to somebody else, and then it makes you feel good. And it does. It helps your mindset and things like that. But you know, it's really making a difference in people's lives, right? And it doesn't have to be huge financial gains, right? If you've got gifts, you've got talents, or maybe you know how to do something, helping your neighbor out or helping another entrepreneur out. I mean, you know, I talked to, I went to a networking group, you know, we're part of the Tennessee Christian Chamber, and went to a local networking group. We're launching in Chattanooga. And, you know, as a financial planner, it seems like there's a lot of realtors, financial planners, and insurance people at these. And then there's another financial planner sat there, and he's like, oh, well, you know, and he started to apologize for being. I was like, don't. And I said, don't have that scarcity mindset, have that, you know, abundance. And we started collaborating and stuff like that. And it really made me feel good because he was younger, newer in the industry, you know, just, I think he was 24, maybe 23, just getting started out. And it made me feel good that, you know, hey, I'm not worried about competition or whatever the case may be, talking at an entrepreneurial level. There are plenty of people to talk to, and some people may connect with me and not him, and some people may connect with him and not me. That just means that they weren't meant to work with me. They were meant to work with him, and that's okay. Again, it's not about trying to, you know, take for yourself. It's about helping others and watching the wave of generosity that comes back on you. It's almost like that boomerang effect. But, you know, yeah, exactly. You reap what you sow. And it's one of those things too, that it leaves that legacy. I mean, you know, one of the things I look at, you know, I remember when I was young, I thought there was so much time, and, you know, I had so much time and things like that. And now as you start to get older and things like that, and I just crossed the, you know, the Sammy Hagar 55, and looking at how quick it went by, you start to think about, what kind of mark do I want to leave? You know, what, again, you always want to be the person that everybody smiles when you walk in the room, not they smile when you walk out, right? And this is part of that. And that generation, you know, I still have mentors in my past that took time out of their life. They're no longer with us, right? But I still think of them and the impact that they made on my life. And that's what that is, that generosity plants those seeds in others that are going to outlive you. You've made a mark in their life, whether big or small, right? Whether positive or negative, you're making marks in people's lives. And, you know, talking about that financial legacy, mentoring people in your business. If you're good at something, mentor people. It doesn't always have to be about, you know, well, yeah, I'll mentor you, but you got to pay me. I mean, you know, give a little and do that. I'm not saying give it all away, but you know what I'm talking about. And investing in your community. If you live in a neighborhood, if you live in a city, try to do what you can to make a difference in it in a positive way that impacts your neighbors. And that's going to create ripples, not only for your benefit immediately, but generationally. Your children are going to remember that. They're going to respond to that and hopefully pick up the gauntlet, so to speak, and carry it forward. But that generosity allows you to leave a legacy, right, of your mark on how you influence people in a positive, loving way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm trying to think of who I heard recently talking about, oh man, I feel like I just had a conversation, but somebody saying like, you don't realize the power and the impact, like, you know, of somebody generations before you. Had they not made a decision they made and, you know, acted in a certain way, then there's a ripple effect in our day-to-day lives and in generations on, you know, how you live your life. Like, we have a huge responsibility. And I think so many people take life so nonchalantly. And I mean, I'm guilty. Like, I've done it. You know, and then I don't know, I guess you get older, wiser, right? Like, you realize
you've got more summers behind you than you do in front of you. And it's like, you know, how have I really impacted people? You know, it's not about waking up, working hard, buying stuff, paying your bills, and then dying, right? There's so much more to it. And I think that if we miss out on that, and, you know, stop and smell the roses, right? I think you're missing the vibrancy of life and what it's really all about. And go back to, it's Christmas, right? One of my favorite movies, and I think you've mentioned this in the past too, is It's a Wonderful Life, right? And you look at George Bailey on the bridge, right? Because he didn't feel like he had any value. And there's so many people struggle with depression and things like that during the holidays, you know, and he was going to jump off the bridge. And so I forget the angel's name, the older, you know, gentleman, but, you know, he stopped him, or showed him what it would have been if he hadn't existed. and all of the impact he made. And it really made him appreciate, okay, I may not be, the big guy or whatever the case may be or whatever, but I'm making an impact. And that's so huge. And that's what the whole fabric of Christmas and generosity is. And the cool thing is it doesn't just have to be at Christmas. This can be something you can experience year round. And it starts with a little baby step of you just putting a smile on somebody's face, maybe paying it forward and buying somebody a coffee or something like that, or just telling somebody, man, I don't know what you're going through right now, but I just felt like I should tell you you're awesome and you need to know that. Don't ever forget that. And I want to say that to the viewers out there too. You've got greatness inside of you. And I know sometimes it may not feel like it. I'm getting a little emotional now. It may not feel like it, but don't forget that. And by you showing somebody else some love and kindness, it's going to come back on you as a wave. So I don't know if you got anything else to add onto that, Wendy, but.
Well, I had this scripture in front of me, 2 Corinthians 9:6. It says, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. And I think that's it's not just about money. It is true for money, but it's also true about your time and your attention and your words. Like, our words have power. Our words are death and life, and let your words be more life to people. You can truly turn somebody's whole world around with a kind word. And so go ahead.
No, I just said you can't. No, I was agreeing with you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And so just, be generous with your time, with your attention, with your love, with your finances, and it will come back tenfold. So,
yeah. So we went a little long today, but just kind of recap, right? 5 reasons for being generous that actually benefit you. Number 1, it shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Yeah. And there's plenty out there. I know it may not feel that way right now, and I know you may be in a dark spot. But like I said, it's always darkest before the dawn. I know that's a little corny and cliche, but it's accurate, right? Especially when you start putting your mind and your heart in the right place. Number 2, it improves your health and happiness, healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? As you're generous, it's going to come back on you from a health standpoint too, longevity and things like that. We talk about this, and we're going to continue to talk more about it and help you out on that. 3, it builds and strengthens relationships. People start to see maybe a different you. And, maybe I shouldn't have judged Jon so harshly or something like that. Let me get to know him a little better, or whatever the case may be. But it's going to create a bigger bond between you and your neighbors, you and your community, you and your coworkers, you and your peers, and really start to see you as maybe in a different point of light. Number 4, it's going to bring personal fulfillment and make you feel good. And that's okay, right? It's okay to feel good about helping others. I think that's part of the great design, right? And number 5, it leaves a lasting legacy. You're making an impact, not just an income. You're making a difference in people's lives, like Wendy said. And you don't know, that little act of kindness, that little act of generosity you just gave somebody may literally have saved their life. You don't know what they're going through. Everybody, on social media, it always cracks me up. Everybody's, like living this large life and stuff like that. And you've got the other extreme too. But it's something where you make a difference in people's lives, whether you realize it or not. You make a difference in people's lives every day, whether it's positive or negative. You just may not see the results. So focus on the positive. And realize that, it truly is beneficial and better to give than to receive. So, and you're going to get it back tenfold. I'm a big believer in it. I would challenge you, the viewer, if you're, you think I'm wrong or whatever, try it. Maybe I am. Leave your comments below. Do us a favor, give us a little love as well, and be a little generous on your side. Give us a like, give us a heart, and share this. And we'd love you to follow us. It helps the algorithms. We're on YouTube. We're on your favorite podcast. We're going through some transitions right now with our back office team, if you will. So our podcasts they're going to catch up here in the next couple of weeks as we go into the new year. But 1 week till Christmas, folks, and let's go out and make a difference in everybody's lives. And Wendy, as always, thank you for just your insight and everything else. You're awesome. And everybody, I want you. We still got a week. We'll see you next Tuesday. But have a Merry Christmas and enjoy your last week of. Keep the stress down, but as we go into Christmas. So bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.